Is Shedeur Sanders stock plummeting? Why that's bad for the Arizona Cardinals picking at 16th overall, Johnny Venerable.
Plus, who are the 5 players we have to have go ahead of AZ at pick 16? Fran Duffy's going to break PHNX Cardinals starting now. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier #1 in the world Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable on this football Wednesday, joined as always, Mr. Studio K himself. Brack is in the house, and of course, Damon Dawg behind the mic. Big interview earlier today. Check it out with PHNX. Wildcats did a banner job. But we're here today to talk about our sweet baby Redbirds, Brack, and what we need to have happen ahead of pick 16.
That's right. And here to help us along with that, many of our diehards here in the chat. I see Ryan H., Mr. J. G. Willikers, love that name. Jason B., Ollie, Hanshot First, Mr. Fat Gangster, Shaft, Googsy, Chris, Eris, Scottsdale VR. What's up, gents? That's very nice of you to call us gentlemen, but this show is not gentlemanly at all. We're a humble podcast, but as far as respectful gentlemen,
we're nasty boys.
We get a little gross here, and we're not going to get anything short of that today, as we're going to mix it up, talking some Shedeur Sanders. As his draft stock, Johnny, appears to be plummeting. There are reports that the Cleveland Browns are number 2, and if you saw the moves the last day or last week, New York Giants, their quarterback room is pretty full. So where does Shedeur Sanders go? But why it is pretty paramount that Sanders and a couple other players, prospects, go off the board before the Cardinals are on the clock.
Yeah, jump in, drop a like, drop us a comment here in the chat. If you're watching on YouTube early on, get in the chat. Let's get dirty. Let's get gross. Fran Duffy's going to clean us up later in the show. We're going to ask him about T-Max Free Fall, Skattebo's Pro Day, which is coming up later in the week. Is this Mike Green hype real? Like our guy Jordan Schultz saying he could go top 10. All that more coming up with Fran Duffy. But here's what I want to do. I want to just get down to brass tacks with my co-host here, Brack, and I want to look at the draft order specifically ahead of Shedeur Sanders should he fall from grace with the New York Giants. All right, so here's the draft order right now. Of course, Arizona picking 16th overall at 8-9. Tennessee appears locked into Cam Ward. Adam Schefter's going on, broadcast today saying it's going to be Abdul Carter at 3-14 Cleveland. So then the Giants have a decision to make. What's interesting here is if Shedeur Sanders, and this is something that we have outlined for some time on this show, does not go to the Giants at 3, he's not going 4. He's not going 5. He's not going 6. The earliest then I think he could go, Shedeur Sanders, the New York Jets at pick 7. But they just gave Justin Fields $40 million. Carolina at pick 8. To me, I look at this group right now. Who stands out to you as a potential fallback for Shedeur Sanders?
And that's the really tough kind of question here. And that's where, I think New Orleans should be in the conversation. I don't know why they would be firmly out of that. And then and I think it would be kind of foolish if Indy pulled the Cardinals and took, it's not back-to-back years, but they're taking, quarterback in the last 2 out of 3 years. But yeah, there aren't a whole lot of candidates once you get outside of this top 3, where it's like 3 quarterback needy teams. And then you've got, it really is, it's tight. Like Jacksonville's set on Trevor Lawrence. You've got, Vegas has Geno Smith in the interim. Like, do they want to, seems like Pete Carroll's going to be in there to try to win some games in the AFC West. What does a first-round quarterback do? How does that help you with Geno? And then you've got the Jets, Justin Fields. I mean, that'd be interesting, but probably the move just kind of telegraphs not taking a quarterback in this draft. So it's like New Orleans after the top three, and then you're kind of in a danger zone where he doesn't go off the board before the Cardinals pick at 16.
Let's look at the draft group one more time here. I want to carve out 3 teams that's a safety net for the Cardinals, because I think people talking about Jackson Dart going top 16. I don't think that's realistic.
Right. Looking
at the draft order again, I think logically, if they're just talking logic, like Derek Carr's year to year, I honestly think New Orleans at 9 is probably the first place. I don't think the Jets and Aaron Glenn want any part of this with Dion, his group, Shedeur. Like I know Shedeur and his camp want to be in New York. That's part of the Giants. To me, I still think it'll be the Giants overwhelmingly. You can't convince me otherwise. Russell Wilson, Jameis, Tommy DeVito, like you're getting fired yesterday.
The Holy Trinity. Is that what you're talking about? Quarterbacking?
It's a horror show, right?
Yeah.
And again, Schefter's still alluding that they could draft Shedeur. New Orleans is spot number 1. If it's not New Orleans, I think there's a good chance that he plummets down into the mid to late teens, because this league is reactionary, and it's not like Shedeur Sanders is Aaron Rodgers, where at the end of the day the Packers got tremendous value on a guy that was underrated in a lot of aspects. Like I think what scares teams with Shedeur is just all the noise off the field. We saw, and great kid by all stretch. Has not done anything on and off the field to suggest otherwise. At the Super Bowl week, I mean, his entourage is enormous. He's got an entourage right now of a group that would look like an established player of 10 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he hasn't played a down of football yet in the National Football League, and he played on a slightly above average Colorado team. I mean, Damon, I'd be interested to get your opinion on this. Like, it does feel like smart teams pick in the back half of the first round. I think if Shedeur Sanders falls out of the Giants and the Saints' grasp, I think it could be an Aaron Rodgers-esque type of fall into the 20s.
I mean, Pittsburgh's there at 21. They've got Mason Rudolph on the roster. That's really their option, and they've been kind of speed dating a little bit with or courting Aaron Rodgers, but not fully. Like, they won't commit to Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see what happens in the less than a month we have before the draft. But then, like, once you get past Pittsburgh, who the hell would take him? Like, these are teams that are looking to continue to like bolster the roster, take playoff teams, which they were previous season, and add guys that can, help them continue to get back to the postseason and maybe make a deeper run. Like, if it's not, after the Cardinals, which we wanted to happen before. Yeah. I mean, Rams potentially. I mean, the Rams were at, Texas Pro Day talking to Arch Manning, which is just a future nightmare in my dreams.
Can Sean McVay just F off? Go away. Quit skeeving around all these top players, Sean McVay.
Like, who could it be? The Shedeur Sanders free fall. You're right. Like, you can't like quit Cleveland or Giants. Like, it was interesting. Like, when they talked to Myles Garrett, his post presser after signing that big extension, it was who's Andrew? Who's the guy who used to do the NFL Network?
Siciliano.
And Siciliano was talking to him. He does the Browns now, and he's just like, "Do did they give you assurances on who the quarterback was going to be?" And he was pretty confident in saying, like, he was given an assurance. And if it's not Russell Wilson or anybody from that group, he couldn't be confident with Kenny Pickett. I don't care how much money you get, $40 million. Like, is Shedeur Sanders still in play? But, Adam Schefter's reporting that Abdul Carter is trending towards being the pick.
I mean, like, is a Kirk Cousins trade imminent with the Cleveland Browns? Like, doesn't that feel like a Stefanski guy where go get a placeholder, have Atlanta
together in Minnesota?
Yeah, have Atlanta eat a bunch of money and send him off to Cleveland and do your play action, run heavy offense. Like I thought Cousins would be a good fit here, just in terms of like what Petzing looks for in a quarterback. I'm with you. I think I still think he'll go to the Giants. If something happens, there's a flare up. I also think it's why we can't like pencil in Jackson Dart as a first round pick.
Right.
These teams, Rams, outside of LA, Baltimore, no, Detroit, no, Washington, no, Buffalo, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Green Bay, Chargers. I mean, like, if you're the Steelers, like, do you take a Jackson Dart or a Shedeur Sanders, regardless if you get Aaron Rodgers? Like, to me, this is just one of those things where this quarterback class, everybody said was terrible. And then you try to talk yourself into it. And then I think we come and we meet kind of in the middle where Cam Ward's going to go first overall. And then everybody else is just going to have various opinions on these guys.
Yeah. I mean, like, you could say what you want about Shedeur, and I saw what you saw at the Super Bowl. Very personable, very respectful, talking to the entire DNVR crew. Every stop along the way, fantastic. Looks like a nice young man. But then you remember Colorado's offseason as players exited that program, and it was Shedeur, saying horrible things about former players, and it's just like that's not going to get NFL decision makers to want to give you the keys to their franchise, because that's exactly what this is. It's the most important position in sports. This is drafting a quarterback in the first round is usually what gets you extended or gets you fired. And, I think that doesn't fall short on any of the GMs and their positions. So, like, when you start to look at this first round, like, there are some teams that would have the luxury of maybe like getting him and stashing him, drafting and stashing. But I think
does that sound like something he's going to want to do, though?
At this point, once you've tumbled down the draft board, you don't exactly get to call the shots anymore. Remember when they were talking about how Dion or Prime was going to dictate where him and Travis Hunter go? We don't hear that anymore, right? The NFL is like, knock that off. You knock it off now. Like, this is the NFL. But like, the Cardinals aren't in position for this because you don't want to trade all the way out of the first round. But could one of those teams atop the draft board get back into the first round to take him later? But then you would you'd be punting on, like, you'd have to get a haul. It just doesn't seem like it's the Cardinals, spot to do that.
You'd have to get, that's where, like, if Cleveland was going to ever move Myles Garrett, trading up with Cleveland at 33 to 16, you got Myles Garrett in return or something like that. Like, I don't know, like the Giants trading up from 34. They have 3, 34, 65, 99. So they got 2/3, one of which is a comp pick. Okay. The New York Giants have what the Cardinals are lacking. They have an elite pass rush, right? They've got Thibodeau. They've got Brian Burns. Like, that's the only kind of scenario. But both of those players, Burns is still really good. That's a move the Cardinals probably should have made last year.
They would take at 3, right?
Yeah, right. Like, they would take Travis Hunter at 3, and then if they tried to come up to 16 from 33, they'd have to almost like gut their roster. Brian Burns, 26 years old. They'd have to send you Brian Burns, pick 33, a future pick, their third. Like we could have a conversation about that. Sure, we could. We could have that conversation, but that it would have to be something egregious like that. And then in all actuality, then you could pair Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders together.
This is like draft crazy talk, because it's like, then you open up so many other different scenarios, and we've seen Monti Ossenfort, like, he would have the ability, he would draft the draft capital to do whatever the heck he wants. He can get right back into the first round if he felt like, hey, like, if he's looking at his draft board and he's sitting there at 16, Shedeur Sanders hasn't been selected yet. And we'll get into how, that impacts the Cardinals. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, and just how the draft dominoes and how they would fall, how the Cardinals would be in a tough spot. Like, if they've got their draft board and confident in it, and it's mumbled, and they can't see, differentiate, between Derek Harmon and, whoever's left on the board that's been, picked pretty clean up to that point, do you roll the dice and say, hey, do you want to come up and get this quarterback, even though it's pretty early? I would imagine the trade back into the first round for Shedeur, if he just free fell, would be kind of like Lamar Jackson, where it's the back end. It's one of these teams that's not moving 17 spots. They're moving, 4 to 5.
Like, what's the tough part about him is like, this is where you lose me now, because I used to be a big completion percentage guy. But when your special trait coming out of college is completion percentage, like that can't be what you write home about when you play in a conference like the Big 12. The last 2 years has not been great defensively. It's been better, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff is horizontal at the line of scrimmage. I mean, Bo, he completed 78% of his passes. Okay. That's just a lot of that
depth of target, not deep.
No, it's smoke and mirrors, which is, but he's a top 32 prospect. I'm not poo-pooing that, but I'm going to take a quarterback 3rd overall who does not have a big arm. It's good enough. It's not huge, right? And he doesn't have elite mobility, right? And his size is solid. He's like 6'1.5". He's not 6'5". I mean, like you're buying a franchise quarterback about 60 cents on the dollar, 3rd overall with this kid. Its completion percentage is like, I mean, like, I think the best version of that is like what we see with Tua in Miami, but he's got what I think is an elite offensive head coach, right? Like Bryce Young, it was completion percentage. These guys that you're knocking now, it's like, or you're touting because they complete over 70% of their throws. Like, well, what did it look like? What does it show you on film? I would not be comfortable with drafting him top 5 to 7. I've said that from the beginning. We don't think the Cardinals would have any interest in taking him at pick 16.
No.
It just, Ward's physical traits are, you've seen it now separate, where he's got a big time arm. He's much more mobile than Shedeur. I think this could get ugly. I'm with the people in the chat. Like, what if they just say, Travis Hunter's the Heisman winner, generational. We get him and Malik Neighbors on this team. We'll find a quarterback elsewhere.
They've already got a couple bridge options.
Yeah.
Like, at least they've done that part of the process, and we can comfortably, continue to add to this defense. We can continue to build this team. Like, I was listening to Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell talk today for the Vikings, and they're talking about creating the environment around the quarterback. And it's like, sure, it sucks not having one. Being in quarterback purgatory is one of the worst spots to be in sport. But if you create the infrastructure that's appealing, especially in a big media market like that, it's going to be at one point really appealing. And once the opportunity comes, probably not Joe Shane, but the next GM is going to be able to go and tab that guy. Yeah.
I think it'll end up being the pick just because they need some kind of cachet, but it is crazy. Jameis and Russell, you're paying them at least like mid-tier combined starting money. I mean, Russ is getting over $20 million, and then Jameis is viable to at least move the chains. You're going to have Shedeur, Russ, and Jameis in the same quarterback room. I mean, this is pretty bizarre. Speaking of bizarre, who are the top 5 players that we need selected ahead of the Arizona Cardinals at pick 16? I think we're calling it our 5 burners. We need teams to burn draft picks on these 5 players, so the Cardinals will be sitting pretty with talent at pick 16. Plus Fran Duffy, that's right around the corner. 600 of you live. Drop a like. Oh, man. Future's so bright. I got to wear shades. I got to have shades with my friends at All Pro Shades Concepts. Extend your outdoor living space and experience with a custom fit awning. They've got All Pro Shades, 100 of designs, colors to choose from. Again, motorized with a remote control. It's all fancy now. LED lighting. It's big time. I see people rocking All Pro Shades, and I'm like, I got to get me some of that. Well, you can get a free estimate right now. Roll down patio shades, block the sun. They keep the patio up to 20 degrees cooler, by the way. When it's triple digits here, baby, you got to have that, right? Ready to rock and roll. 80 degrees is going to feel like 65. Hundreds of colors, durable fabrics to withstand that Arizona sun. They can also replace and fix most outdated patio shades and motorized awnings. So if you've got one, you bought a house, they've got an old set, give them a call. They're the locally trusted, operated company with #1 in Arizona for patio shades since 2024. Triple B, A+ rating with over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google right now. Licensed, bonded, and insured. All you got to do, call 623-204-1476 or visit allproshades.com to schedule your free estimate.
If you're looking to root on your Wildcats, look at that. The old desert, that logo. It's so
Cactus
cool.
logo, baby.
So nostalgic. If you're looking to root on the Cats, Damon, Kevin, they're getting you riled up for it. They had Derek Williams, D. Will on the show. I encourage you to check out that interview. Don't go and spend like a bunch of money, like just on some random website. Just go to Branded Bills. They've got their campus collection right now. It's elite. Not only do they have this logo, they have all the Wildcat logos that you want from U of A. Check that out, part of their campus selection. Also, you got the PHNX swag, that one, the old flag hat, the pennant hat. Love it. Love mine. You're going to love everything from Branded Bills because it elevates your brand. If you got a company, if you got a co-ed softball team, you got a little league team for your son or daughter, they can elevate your brand, whether it's snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, tees. Branded Bills covered with performance and style. Check them out right now. Local company in Mesa, but man, they're worldwide. You go to any destination here around the globe, you're going to see somebody sporting a Branded Bill hat like Johnny has gifted to him from his good friend Trey McBride. Ever heard of him? Head to brandedbills.com. Use your code PHNX. You're going to save, how about this, 20% off your first order at brandedbills.com by utilizing that code PHNX. It's going to open up key 20% off brandedbills.com. Premium headwear and apparel.
When people are like, you deserve it. That's what happens when I got this hat from Trey McBride. People were shouting, you deserve it. How about this right here? Like what you see?
When Trey McBride just kind of like forgot that a hat behind him.
That's not what happened.
Yeah, he did.
He
just kind of like left the area.
And Johnny was like, that's mine. He said it. I could have it.
Did. Johnny pounced on it. Johnny was actually like wishing that he would.
No, that was a different hat. This was gift wrap with a note. I'm going to keep that private. This was not a throwaway gift. Come on. Trey and I
knew it was like, it meant nothing to Trey. Like the hat that he left that I guess was mine. I gave to our guy RG over at DMVR. She's like, hey, you want this? Because it really doesn't have any. It doesn't symbolize anything.
Trey will get me something else.
Yeah, we're friends.
You're not friends. Here are players ahead of the draft we want to all become friends with. Not too close though. We want to tout them up. We want these players to do well. We're rooting for these players on and off the field. It's our burner 5 here. Most influential prospects for the Cardinals board. We talked about it. Shedeur Sanders. Somebody please draft him within the first 15 picks. Can we have that go okay? We'll couple that with a running back, Ashton Genty, which we feel like very safe. Running back out of Boise State, he looked like an ultimate freak show. I will say at his pro day today. Remember the muscle hamster, Doug?
Yeah.
What's his name? Played for Tampa Bay. That's what he looked like today, running around in his skivvies. Tyler Warren, couple of tight ends, Colston Loveland, and then number 5. Can't put T-Mac on this list because, well, a lot of people don't have T-Mac as their number 1 receiver. So we're just going to play it safe and say any
Johnny.
Wide receiver possible. I'm not saying I don't.
By the way, as Damon handles all the graphics, he made sure to put T-Mac on the graphic here, representing 5 here, any wide receiver. But no, this would be big for the Cardinals if 5 of these prospects, any wide receiver included, go before them at 16. I mean that takes away, and they also can start kind of counting Cam Ward in there because he seems like he's just a stone cold lock at 1-1 now. So you've got 6 prospects, and then you just have to weather the storm as far as 10 prospects going off before you. That would be kind of in your sandbox of prospects that you're looking to draft on your team, playing defensive front 7 players, or if you want to look at defensive backs, that's that you just don't want people to kind of take away from that pile. So you have Colston Loveland, you got the 2 tight ends. I think you can put, along with McMillan, you can put Matthew Golden, who's a trendy prospect right now. Burden, I think, is pretty firmly out of the conversation to be a top 20 guy, but you never know. It would be huge for the Arizona Cardinals. Marion Hampton, could the running back from North Carolina, could somebody get stupid and take another running back top, 15 in front of the Cardinals? I mean, that all plays right into their hands.
What about folks in the chat saying Malachi Starks potentially a safety?
Yeah, safety for sure.
I mean, it just, to me, can we squeeze this orange a little bit? Can we get non-traditional power positions, foolish teams to take a flyer? I'd even throw a couple tackles in there. I mean, Calvin Banks Jr. has looked good, has had a good offseason. Like, it wouldn't shock me at all if he went top 15. And again, he's a good prospect. I'm not going to poo-poo him. Josh Simmons, by the way, did do some work at the Ohio State Pro Day, which, by the way, Bo, the Cardinals were absent from. Cardinals did not make it to Ohio State Pro Day.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
Marv was there.
Oh, Marv was there.
Yeah.
So you think Marv was scouting?
I think that if there's one team that knows Ohio State, backwards and forwards, it's the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm not too concerned that they missed out on the Buckeyes. I mean, I'm sure most of the coaching staff and scouting department were keyed in on, the most NFL talent-rich program that 2024 college football season had to offer. So, like, the fact that they're not at the pro day, I'm not too concerned about that. But, like, yeah, you're right. Like, Kelvin Banks and Josh Simmons, somebody that there was reports, I think, per Todd McShay or his podcast that Josh Simmons is, a character concern. Which
not a good dude.
Is not a good guy. A bad guy.
Is everybody a bad guy right now?
This is like the most bad guy reports I think I've heard during a draft process.
People told me about you before we brought you on. I said, Bo Brack, great broadcaster, great content creator, not a good guy. And I said, well,
they turned out to be right.
The tell-all book for Damon Dawg when he's 50, it's gonna be sensational.
Yeah, we were
just gonna be chapters.
We had the contract en route to Bo, and we got a hot tip, and we're like, "Hey, not a good hang that Bo Brack."
Oh,
skeletons!
You're bringing Brack on? Ooh. Did you not know? Bad guy.
No one went to his birthday party.
I mean, like, what's the bad guy list
his
right
name
now?
Was Bo too, right?
Yeah, it was
Bo Callahan. Mike Green, not a good guy. Mm-hmm. James Pierce Jr., not a good guy. Walter
really
Nolan,
bad guy, allegedly.
Yeah. Walter Nolan, not a good guy. Josh Simmons, not a good guy.
Pretty sure there was rumors that like Tennessee threw like a pizza party after he walked out the facility for the last time.
It was Ace Ventura when nature calls, when Ace leaves the sanctuary and they throw the monks are throwing the party when James Pierce Jr. exited Knoxville.
Why are all the players that we like on film not good dudes? Is that going to lead to an overdraft? Is that going to lead to an off-ball linebacker? I sure as hell hope not.
Is that just good gamesmanship from the actual good organizations at the bottom of the first round that are just like, he's a pretty bad guy. Don't tell anybody, but awful dude.
I mean, like, I haven't heard anything about Josh Simmons about being a bad dude. Like, why would that come from Todd McShay? How would Todd McShay know that?
I mean, Todd McShay has sources. Why are you lukewarm on or just out on Todd McShay?
No, I'm not out on McShay. I'm out on what's his name, draft analyst guru at ESPN. Todd McShay.
That is a red flag, though. It's like, why did ESPN move off of Todd McShay and now they've got Matt Miller as part of their stable of draft analysts?
I like when Schefter, not to get too in the weeds here, when Schefter broke that news today about Abdul Carter, and then I see Matt Miller's face on the screen, I'm just like, this is just. You lose credibility with me when you put that guy out there, and then there's Schefter trying to break news. It's like, come on, what are we doing here?
Wait, what was Matt Miller doing?
Well, his head's on the screen while Schefter's talking, and I'm like, I just can't. I'm trying to block it out. You had the Cardinals taking back-to-back corners in the first and second round. Right. I'm not sure you've ever gotten a pick right, and it just had one of the worst.
What I'm hearing is if Matt Barkley's there at 7, he doesn't get past the Cardinals. Oh yeah, Matt, good call, dude.
What I'm hearing is I'm going to aggregate all the content from all the other people, and then I'm going to compile it into my stuff. And because I have a great handle on Twitter, things are going to go well for me.
We're hard on Matt Miller, but I will say, like, that guy got in about as early as possible on like the Twitter streets and
that's what I'm saying.
Digital media.
Yeah,
and
at NFL Draft Scout, man.
He's parlayed it into a pretty insane career.
Was he a scout? Actually a scout?
No.
No clue.
All right, hang on.
There's no way.
Are you going to wiki Matt Miller and just see what his scouting background is? I bet you it's pretty much slim to none.
All right, Matt Miller. I don't even know if he's got a Wikipedia here. I don't think he does. He joined ESPN.
If you're an ESPN personality, you don't have a Wikipedia.
All right, here we go. Okay. He joined ESPN in 2021. Before joining ESPN, Miller was Bleacher Report's lead draft writer for 11 years, 2010 to 2021, where he contributed to mock draft scouting reports and stories.
Which were some of Bleacher Report's biggest things. Like, I think he really was pretty influential in helping build Bleacher Report.
Prior to Bleacher Report, Miller worked as director of scouting for New Era Scouting 2006 to 10 and coach and recruiting coordinator for CFL's Joplin Crusaders. Okay.
Were they any good?
2006, 2008. I don't know. I wasn't on the Crusaders beat that year. I wasn't up on my Crusaders ball. But like, and then we're just going to call a spade a spade. Fran Duffy's going to join us any moment. Worked for the Eagles. Worked in the Eagles front office.
Yeah.
I mean, and there are thousands of scouts within the NFL.
Right.
Just saying. Sorry.
I love that. Fran would probably appreciate that conversation.
He would. We'll save him from that, though. We won't make him get down in the mud like us. We will throw mud hard on this show. Just in time, Fran Duffy saving us before we besmirch Matt Miller of ESPN any more than we need to. Here he is. It's the franchise. Fran Duffy joining the show.
Do we want to break first? We'll get to Fran.
We only have 2 breaks today.
Okay. All right. Wow.
For your boys.
Really pulling the curtain back there. All right. Let's get into the franchise mode with our guy, Fran Duffy, joining us live from Philly, PHLY's own Fran Duffy, of course, ALLCITY draft analyst. Fran, how we doing, man?
I'm doing great. I joined the show, just got in the waiting room right at the best time.
So I promise we don't constantly rip on other draft personalities when you come on the show. It's purely by accident, but we do have to tell our folks. Nobody better. Check out his draft guide right now, ALLCITY Network draft analyst Fran Duffy. We're getting down to brass tacks now. We're less than 30 days away from this bad boy. You got Adam Schefter reporting Abdul Carter likely to go second overall, kind of circling that prospect from Penn State. Well, what the hell are the New York Giants doing? You've got Shedeur Sanders, who a lot of people think is going to end up with the Giants, yet they're signing Jameis and they're signing Russell Wilson. Hypothetically, if Shedeur Sanders does not go third overall, how far can he fall? And would that be trouble for Arizona as we're trying to burn those kind of players before pick 16?
Yeah, it could be. It definitely could be trouble. I think that the team that you're hoping for is the New Orleans Saints. You know, kind of lying there in the weeds at 9. I think that's the team where if the Giants don't make that selection at 3, and I'm going to be honest, we were doing a diehard event in Philly. You know, it was last night, Tuesday night, when the news came down about Russell Wilson signing in New York. And, you know, my initial thought went to, okay, one of 2 things. Either the Cleveland Browns are taking Shedeur Sanders. The Giants think that Shedeur Sanders is going number 2, and they said, all right, well, we're locked out again at quarterback. Or they know they're not taking Shedeur Sanders, right? It's one of those 2 things. And so I think obviously the Cardinals are hoping it's the former, but it certainly seems like, based off reporting, that it's going to be the latter now. And now I think you look at New Orleans. And then you talk about trade up candidates. I just don't know, like, especially getting up ahead of the Cardinals at 16. Like, I don't know if there's going to be that urgency for a team to be able to make that move up. You know, it's going to be interesting, but this is something we talked about leaving the combine, that this possibility was on the table.
Seems like maybe Pittsburgh, as they don't have a QB1 even on the roster as of right now. They've got Mason Rudolph and they're courting, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of Aaron Rodgers. We just put up this graphic, Damon. If you could show Fran, we had 5 prospects that we think need to go before the Cardinals pick at 16, including Shedeur. And I guess you could include Cam Ward going 1-1 here. Ashton Genty, the 2 tight ends, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, and then any wide receiver who happens to go at the top, whether it's Teteroa McMillan, Matthew Golden. We just have this just so best case scenario. Let's say, you know, you got 6 prospects off the board. The Cardinals are going to have kind of get into that sandbag so they don't have that pick clean before they're there at 16. Do you see that kind of similarly?
Yeah, I mean, I feel really good about 2 of them, right? I feel like Tyler Warren and Ashton Genty, feel really good about those guys definitely being off the board. You know, and that's the thing, is when you get into these kind of conversations, I've had these in the past. Typically, it's like, all right, you can make a case for why 3 of those 5 players are not on the board, while they would still be on the board and they don't go before the Cardinals. But at the end of the day, like, 15 guys going to get taken, right? And so, you know, 15 players are going to go off the board. It stands to reason that at least 3 or 4 of those players that you list out, and obviously one of them being just a nebulous wide receiver, it feels between like Golden and Teteroa McMillan that one of those 2 should go off at some point. But yeah, it's a couple of those are certainly going to be up in the air, and it's going to make Monty and JG kind of sweat it out a little bit.
A player that's not on that list plays a premium position, and we're pretty confident the Cardinals won't draft is Mike Green out of Marshall, who had a dominant pro day. You got guys like Jordan Schultz saying he's got top 15, top 10 kind of rhythm, smoke around him now. Are you buying his hype as a potential top 10 to 12 pick in next month's draft?
Not really. I would say, I mean, look, at the end of the day, a lot of these decisions are going to come outside of the hands of the general manager and the head coach. When you have, especially a pick that high, if you're talking top 10, top 12, that like ownership is going to have to sign off on that too, in terms of making sure that off-field stuff that is all in the clear. And I think that every team is going to have to make that call on their own. And that's been tough to kind of anticipate which coaching staff and general manager is going to be okay with, not necessarily looking past that, but you know what I mean? Like, are they going to feel confident in making sure that they can make that call? That might be too big of a swing for top 10, top 12, in my opinion.
Can I follow up real quick and say, let's say you had no off the field concerns, right? And you just transferred schools because closer to home or whatever. Is he a top 10 pick in your eye? Like physically, based on his tape, is he a top 10 pick?
No, not for me. I think when I think he's a really good player. Like I do really like the tape. He's extremely violent. I love the way that he attacks offensive linemen. His ability to win at the top of the rush. He's got a couple different moves in his bag. I do think at that size, you're talking just under 6'3", just under 250 pounds, or right around 250. That's not a guy that's like a plus athlete at that size. At least on film for me. I do think that he needs a little bit of runway if he's going to generate power consistently, when I'm watching him on tape. And so to me, that's not a top half of the first round edge rusher. Even in this class, as we've always, couched it. And even in this class, I don't think that that's a situation that, would probably come to pass.
We were talking about this before you got on, and there seems to be a lot of character red flags that are popping up more than I can remember during any draft season, including Green. We just heard one come out about Josh Simmons that was alleged. And then also another one, that's been kind of in that conversation is James Pierce Jr. And maybe we're missing a few, but who's the most alleged bad guy who has the best film?
Can I throw another one at you?
Yeah.
To me, it's Luther Burden Jr. And there's been, I know that, Todd McShay just went on his podcast this week and, said that there's some stuff in the background there. Bob McGinn with Tyler Dunn's website, he just put out some, the anonymous scout quotes on Luther Burden, and some of that matched with what Todd McShay was putting out. So that's one where I'm just like, we might be overthinking that one. It's not like some of these other situations where there's like actual criminal stuff, stuff that's out there, on the record. It's more just like, behind the scenes things where I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to divulge, guys from previous draft classes. Some of the same things that are being said about Luther Burden were said about a lot of players that have come into the NFL in the last 2 or 3 years that have won like offensive rookie of the year, have been like some of the best young players in the NFL at different positions. So, that's not enough, in my opinion, to scare me away from Luther Burden Jr.
We talked about it with Damon before the show. T-Mac, the free fall, at least nationally, continues, where it feels like no mock draft of note, whether it's Daniel Jeremiah or Mel Kiper, they don't have T-Mac going within the top 15, top 17 picks. How do we get to this point where this guy was supposed to be, and especially in a down draft, a consistent top 5 to 7 pick with a ton of teams, by the way, needing wideouts in the top 15. Now he's looked at as more of like where Jackson Smith and Jigba was drafted at the back half of the first round. How did we get to this point, or is this always the consensus within league circles?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where we at times in this space, it can be a little bit of an echo chamber when it comes to the NFL draft atmosphere and players and talking about guys, and the same thing, honestly, has occurred with a couple other players in this class. Will Johnson, over the course of the summer into the fall, he's a consensus top 5, top 8 type of pick. He's going to be like a Patrick Surtain Jr. coming out of Alabama. I'm gonna be honest. Like when I watched Will Johnson in the summer, like I didn't see that quality of player, right? Really good player, really good corner, first round corner, but not to that tier, right? And I think you would say that. I would say the same thing about T-Mac. I would say the same thing about Tetero McMillan, where I'm like, good player, but not a guy that I would put like up on that mantle. Now it just comes into, and I still think this is the case. in this class, it is a little bit of a weaker class at the top. Could he still go in the top 15? I still think that that's possible. I was on with our DLLS crew earlier today, and I said, look, the Dallas Cowboys have consistently been a team that has been willing to look past a subpar athletic profile with their high picks, with the first round pick. And so I don't think they're going to be scared off by Tetairoa McMillan. I don't think they're going to be scared off by Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama, because he doesn't look great from a testing standpoint. So I do think there's still a chance that McMillan does go in the top 15.
We'll get to the scat kind of private workout here shortly. That's coming up tomorrow, I guess, here locally in Tempe. But along with our conversation about which players need to go for Cardinals draft success, you would kind of take guys, obviously, like Mason Graham off the board and Travis Hunter, the defensive back, and, all the top prospects, kind of the locks to be top 10 guys.
Yep.
You and my Bo brethren over there, Bo Wolf, you guys kind of talked about some defensive outliers. Like when we start to look at that, who are some more intriguing guys that aren't they're on the peripheral of the top guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think we did a whole show on it. We talked for like over an hour about this on Tuesday, and that's up over on the PHLY YouTube page. And there's a bunch of guys that I think kind of fit this mantle for different reasons, right? I mean, obviously the biggest one is Shamar Stewart. And I know that that's a guy that has been on the forefront of Arizona Cardinals fans' minds. Only 4.5 career sacks. Look, only 3 players drafted in the last decade at the edge rusher position had fewer than 4.5 sacks. Like, think about that. Obum Gwachum, Edmund Robinson, Jesse Luketa was the other one, ironically
all
enough.
The elites.
Yeah, they were day 3 guys. None of them, obviously he would be the lowest of any guy in the first round on day 2 of the draft in the last decade. So we just have not seen this low level of production. And it's not just from a sack standpoint. It's also from like run stops and being able to just make impact plays on the ball. And so we dove into like, all right, well, what were some of the markers for players that had lower level of production and low level win rates, pass rush win rates, and the pressure percentages, and what were some of the markers of those guys that still found success? He does hit some of those markers, like in terms of like the length and the explosiveness. Like there are things there are breadcrumbs where you can say, okay, like there's a path to success. I would say overall, it's a very, very tight needle to thread. Well, without going 20 minutes into it here on this show, that's what I would point our viewers here to go and check out that conversation if you can. But to me, that's a swing I'm letting somebody else take. And I think that there are plenty of people in the league that kind of feel that same way. But as we say, it only takes one. As far as other players, real quickly, I mean, Mike Green with his lack of length, that is certainly a name to come up. The length is a popular one here this year just because of how things went at the combine. But you would say the same things about Jahdae Barron, sub 30-inch arms. Will Johnson, he's got the shortest arms of any 6-foot corner over the last decade. Siobhan Revel, only 15 starts at corner for ECU, under 900 snaps played. It's extremely small sample size. So you go down this list, there are a bunch of really interesting outlier cases in this defensive class, and even on the offensive side as well. But we know we're focused mainly on the defensive side here for the Cardinals.
I'm going to go offense again here because this is the mandatory part of the interview where we talk about Cam Skattebo. Cam Skattebo's pro day coming up, which we unfortunately found out was going to be closed to the media. So we can't go have a slobber fest at ASU later this week. It's going to run a 40. You talked about it last time you were on with us that you thought best case scenario is 3rd round. Is there anything that could change your mind to get him within the top 65 picks? What would he have to run from a 40 standpoint to get you to bump him to round 2? Or is that even possible in your mind?
Johnny, I really appreciate it. Is like a Skattebo level of persistence from you to slowly.
Some would say my interview technique is Skattebo-esque, by the way.
Well, because a couple weeks ago I was like, all right, Fran, I know you said he's probably in the 4th round, but what does he need to do to get to the 3rd round?
Look, notice he's already been bumped up around since we had that converation too. Now, in all seriousness, what do you think he's going to run, and what would he need to run to get him into the top 50?
I'm going to be honest. The top 50, I think, is a stretch for me. I don't know what he would need to run. It's probably just unrealistic. I mean, I don't know what, like 4.3 at 220 pounds, right? Like, I just don't think that that's something that he's capable of. I think at the end of the day, a win for Cam Skattebo, if he's in the low 4.5s, like if he's in like 4.53, 4.55, like I would think that would be a win. And that's not like 4.51 is 50th percentile amongst all running backs drafted in the last decade, right? So like if he were to break 4.5, that would put him above that mark. That would be a huge win in my opinion. So I'm saying, can he get to like 40th percentile? If he can do that, I do think that's a win for Cam Skattebo in his camp.
Real quick follow-up question.
Yeah.
Best fit off around the NFL for Cam Skattebo. If you looked at the big board of teams, what's the best fit for him to immediately come in and have success in an offense?
I'm going to be honest. I think that's one of the things I wrote about him in his profile. I think all 32 teams would love a Cam Skattebo. He is a player where I'm like, yeah, you can carve out a role for a player like this. There are a lot of paths to success because he can help out on the goal line. He could be your short yardage back. He can be an early downs guy. He can chip in on third down. He's going to play special teams, right? Like, so every team could say, yeah, we can get this guy on here. He can play downhill in gap schemes. He can play in a zone scheme. So his scheme versatility is absolutely one of his most valuable assets.
Now that you've had time to kind of think about it, you debunked some of the, typical comps to Cam Skattebo. Have you got any better idea of who he comps well to?
Honestly, there's no other big changes on my end. I would say that once we do get the athletic profile, that's where you'll start to get more of them, right? And that's where we'll start to see like, okay, who is it? Are we able to make some more of these measurables too? Because right now we've got 5'9.5", we've got 219 pounds. We saw the jumps. So now we can start to project some more of these once we get potentially some shuttles. I think that's where we can really start to take a look. But obviously the 40 time will go a long way towards that. So my guess is I'll have a handful of comps next week if we get a full athletic profile.
The comp show coming up next week. Real quick before we get you out of here, we talked a little bit about Jahad Campbell, linebacker off ball out of Alabama. He had surgery. We felt like we could kind of put it to bed, and then by hook or by crook, Cardinal fans bringing it back to life, like going to that well one more time. Let's dip our toes. I don't know if we have the graphic or not, Damon, as it relates to, here it is, first round off-ball linebackers. This was through last year, having their fifth-year option picked up. It's a horror show. Not that these guys can't play, but it's just taking an off-ball linebacker in the first round, Fran, we've seen it's just not good value. Then you couple that with the fact that this guy has shoulder surgery after the combine. And then you quadruple the fact that the Cardinals have been a nightmare drafting this position. Like, there's no reality in which they take, knowing JG and Rollis, that they take an off-ball linebacker 16th overall, right?
And even like looking at it too, like a couple of those check marks, those guys got hurt right afterwards. Shazier obviously had the devastating injury, and then LVE, Leighton Vander Esch, he retired a couple years after this. So that's a good call out from Austin Gale. But I think when you're looking, at that position, the teams have had trouble trying to project those guys moving forward. It's because look, the way that they're deployed in college, it's very difficult sometimes to be able to project them. And so when you're looking at a guy that's got a versatile skill set like Jahad Campbell, a guy that can play down the line, he can do some things from a box set, he can match up with tight ends, he's made plays in zone coverage. Like, he's done things, I would say, Johnny, that at least are projectable. Right. With some of these guys, we've seen them where it's like, all right, they're basically just going to play in the slot, and they're going to be an athlete, and they're going to run, and they're going to chase, and they're going to make plays sideline to sideline. That's not projectable, right? That's something where it's a complete guess. So you're hoping that he's going to develop, in the box in that way. I think when you're looking at Campbell, based on, so compared to some of these other guys, I think he's got a little bit more that make it a little bit of an easier transition.
A month from today, we'll be recapping the 3-day draft, right? April 26th. All this hard work that you put in, we'll finally put a bow on it. And then you'll do, obviously the recap. But of this draft so far, as we sit, that close to it, is any prospect more than any other scream Arizona Cardinal to you? Not just specific to the first round, but just in this entire draft class?
It's a good question. I keep notes on players where I'm like, all right, like this guy just makes a ton of sense. One player that I think makes a ton of sense, and I've come around on this as a potential option for the Cardinals, is Josh Simmons, the tackle from Ohio State. They love guys with size. They love guys that are violent. They love guys that are explosive and athletic at prize positions. right? So that's basically I kind of carve out profiles of all right, here are all the guys that Monti Ossenfort, Jonathan Gannon have taken in the first round, second round, over the course of the entire draft, day 3, the little profiles. On-field profile, here's what I've got written down for Arizona. Big, violent, versatile, explosive, and athletic at a prize position. All right, that's Josh Simmons all day. You couple that with the fact, number one, they've been shopping in that aisle for the last couple of years at Ohio State, right? And they've had some success there with those Buckeyes. And then the other part of it, they just hired his coach in Justin Fry. So they plucked Justin Fry from Columbus. They bring him down to the desert. And now I'm like, all right, like Josh Simmons in the middle of round 1, or maybe that's a trade down scenario as well. That is kind of like a sneaky pick for me, where I'm like that one would make sense there. I don't know how you guys feel about that one. To me, that's one that is starting to kind of make some sense for me.
That move would make a lot of sense if the Cardinals take a player at 16 and then move up from 47 to come back and grab him. To me, Fran, it would either have to be a trade down from 16 and you take him at the back half of the first, or trade up at the beginning of the second round. I don't think I would be comfortable taking him 16th, but listen, there are far less nightmare scenarios that I can wrap my head around. I mean, if we're talking guards and off-ball linebackers, you lose me, but a tackle from a blue chip program, the problem I think with Cardinal fans is just he doesn't have a role right away, and this is a team that's trying to get over the hump, and that will be thinking probably long term.
For whoever drafts Simmons, wherever it is, if it's 16, if it's 32, right? Whoever takes him, I guarantee you when they get to the podium and they talk about it after the draft, it's going to be, if this guy's healthy, we have no shot at him. We're not taking him where we got him, right? So we view this as surplus value. I know he worked out today, and so there's going to be, I think, increased buzz now coming out of the next 48 hours, I think, on Simmons. But that's going to be one that, to me, makes sense for Arizona at 16 as long as the medical checks out.
I want to sneak this one in because I'm looking at our Cards top 100 that we're building based off of all your information, the most thorough, draft prospect database you can find right now at gophnx.com and ALLCITY from Fran. You have Michael Williams from Georgia, his comp as Josh Sweat. Would it make sense for the Cardinals to have a player that profiles just like somebody they just signed to a big deal?
I think so. There's actually a couple guys that I think match that profile too. And honestly, the other guy I think is a slam dunk fit for Arizona. And would go back to your earlier question, Bo. Landon Jackson from Arizona. He also profiles very similarly for me to Josh Sweat. And also he checks a lot of the boxes, I think, for Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort. So he'd be another one when you get to round 2. Maybe that's a short trade up like we were just talking about. But I think when you're looking at both those guys, yeah, I mean, give me all the talented front 7 players for Arizona, right? Regardless of, however much money they just gave to Josh Sweat. I think you want to continue to add as many talented players as possible. I don't think they can be picky about we want to try and compliment this guy. No, let's just get as many of these talented players into the building as possible.
Fun fact, Damon Dawg actually approached Landon Jackson on our flight home from the Combine because he's training here and abruptly began just asking him questions about the Arizona Cardinals. So.
Did meet with the Cardinals, Fran. Did in fact meet with the Cardinals.
Fran, he was in first class, front row of the
We were
plane.
in the last row, by the way.
Big dude, as you mentioned, 6'7". Yeah. He just sit there, just came off of an impressive scouting combine performance. Yep. And Damon sitting there firing away questions at him. Like, hey, you meet with the Cardinals?
Crush it this week, Landon.
Damon, did you sit down in the front row, in the seat with him?
That seat might have been open next to him.
Honestly, it seems like a missed opportunity that I didn't at this point. I should have sat next to him.
They could not have rushed us to the back of the plane.
Yeah, he was probably about to hit that call button. Excuse me, can you get this guy to the back of the plane where he's supposed to be?
Is that seat taken right there?
Hey, now that we're engaged, I'm going to go ahead and sit down. Fran, you're the man. We appreciate you going along with us this week. He's going to be back every single week leading up to the draft. Bo mentioned it. No better draft guide available right now. It's the franchise mode. Our guy Fran Duffy. Check out his work, ALLCITY Network. Go PHNX.com. Fran, I'm gonna be speed dial, man. After the Skattebo Pro Day, I'm gonna be texting you.
Hit me up. I'll be here ready to answer, and I'll have some comps next week, guys.
Oh yeah, there's no comp for Fran Duffy. He is one of one. Again, check out his work right now. ALLCITY Network. We've got your super chats. Plus, did somebody say the Arizona Cardinals are a loser this offseason? A big L loser team? We're gonna talk about it coming up. I'll tell you the opposite of losers when you roll up in a Sanderson Ford truck, right? That's called winners. Winners win. Sanderson Ford, they win. PHNX is a proud sponsor right now, having Sanderson Ford as our official vehicle partner. It's Truck Month. As Arizona's largest Ford dealership, Sanderson Ford, they've got hundreds of trucks on their lot, all of them marked down with big discounts in Truck Month. I'm a truck guy, so Truck Month is right up my alley. Choose from the entire lineup: Mavericks, Rangers, F-150s, Super Duties. If you want to know more about their off-road capabilities, check them out right now. They've got a full staff ready to help you find the truck of your dreams, including full-size Broncos, Bronco Sports, marked down for Truck Month. Again, deals on deals right now, up to 2.9% financing. You're going to save $4,000 on Ranger trucks plus 3.9% financing. Shop Sanderson Ford. No hassle, no pressure. It's a truck acumen, folks. Get smarter. 2024 models, finance offers 36 months, OAC through Ford Credit. Discounts include Ford rebates, Sanderson discounts, plus trade assistance and Conquest cash. You got to qualify. Offer expires in just 5 days. Go see them out in Glendale. They are the best.
You can read that ad with as much enthusiasm as you want, but you're still a fraud. You're not a truck guy. Stop doing that to our audience. You owe them at least that much respect. You didn't let me during my truck owner, to read that ad. But look, I'll take a Spinato's Pizzeria ad because I love Spinato's. We're getting close to the end of the week, and that means me and my wife, my son, we're going to order some Spinato's off of Spinato'sPizzeria.com and get some za to the house, delivered right to our door, piping hot and fresh. We'll get the spicy Italian. My son's going to get the Kevin McAllister Home Alone cheese-only special. And also, it's a son's game tonight as well. So that's your son's watch party headquarters. Go check them out right now. You could be hanging out with the Suns dancers, the Gorilla. You can also be playing their basketball horse contest, which is actually the spelling out Pizza instead of horse. You can win yourself Suns tickets to an April 9th game. Free tickets, free pizza, potentially. Feel the energy, cheer for your team, win big. Check them out. All the details. Spinato'sPizzeria.com. Make your order as well. The official pizza of the Phoenix Suns.
The streets are saying the Suns are back. That remains to be seen if their future is bright or not. But our future is bright with our friends at Shady Rays. This segment brought to you by our friends at Shady Rays. Of course, use the bonus code PHNX. Let's put on our rose-colored glasses and explain why you can't do better. Brought to you by, folks, over 1,000 five-star ratings. Head to ShadyRays.com. At least one national writer thinks that the Cardinals' future is bright based on their offseason. How about Benjamin Solak, who does know ball, put the Cardinals relatively high with their offseason rankings at 13th, noting key acquisitions like Josh Sweat. He loved the Sweat signing, Bo. Thought it was perfect. Of course, scheme familiarity with Jonathan Gannon, Dalvin Tomlinson, right? He did not love the exodus at defensive tackle with the likes of Roy Lopez, Chris Tonga, and Naquan Jones, Bo. What do you make of his assessment there of the Cardinals 13th?
I think he had to, he was doing I loved, I didn't love in each little blurb, and he had to find a negative in the mass exodus of guys, replacement level players leaving just because they played a huge snap load out of necessity because of the Bilal Nichols, Justin Jones, and Darius Robinson injuries that impacted the defensive line for the majority of last season. You're going to see that. You're like, oh my gosh, where's the continuity there? But Cardinals are improving that group overall. Yep. So I think he was just kind of nitpicking a little bit. But for him to have them kind of above average to, above the kind of medium of the league, that's good to see. I mean, with the addition of Sweat and Dalvin Tomlinson, you're chipping away at it. It's not a complete overhaul, and I think that's what would have, could have potentially catapulted them higher. But I don't know if those moves were there. So, I think Solak being as complimentary as possible while also kind of doing his whatever this bit was that he was doing on ESPN.com. So, yeah, Solak's. I think he's pretty. Excited about what the Cardinals are doing, as much as he can be as the analyst he is, and what they were able to accomplish in this part of roster building.
On the flip side, and if you're watching with one of our many streaming partners, we welcome you on over to gophnx.com. Hit a like. We got tons of great content here. We also have 900 watching live. So let's get 900 likes, shall we, friends? The future is not bright for the Cardinals, according to CBS sports writer Garrett Podell. Calls the Cardinals losers. What, Garrett? You're a loser. The Arizona Cardinals entered the 2025 offseason with plenty of
Garrett.
Yeah. And cap space, they did reel in arguably the top edge rusher. I don't know. I don't think that can be argued. 4 years, $76 million. But he said Arizona hasn't been able to upgrade receiver around Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson, or really any notable areas of need, despite having the 5th most cap space in the league, $41 million. So he must have forgotten the Dalvin Tomlinson signing. Like, I get it. I'm skeptical that the Cardinals are just going to run back this offense, same QB, coordinator, personnel. They think continuity is key. From a national perspective, Garrett believes the Cardinals are losers because they're not giving maybe Stephon Diggs, what was it, $68 million? Right. Some crocker, you know what? Like, I'm sorry. Garrett, what would you like for them to do at receiver? Who is available?
This is where I'm going to be bright and positive as far as our friends over at Shady Rays go, because we always seem to go pretty dark. Usually have our darkest segments for whatever reason when it's supposed to be the brightest. I'm positive that Garrett is wrong here. And the fact that he didn't even mention like Trey McBride as far as where they fell short, he was like, they didn't upgrade around Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson at the wide receiver position, acknowledging that those are some decent, valuable options, right? Especially Marv after his rookie season. Like, sure, he didn't tap into expectations, but you can see that he's going to be a big time playmaker in this league. Is that, I mean, how many wide receivers do you want the Cardinals to have, Garrett? Like, I mean, if you feel confident in Marv and Michael Wilson, and then you've got some depth pieces behind him, and then also you have Trey McBride, I think you're actually in a pretty decent spot. Yep. So I really don't understand the criticism on this, and I don't think in any realm of free agency the Cardinals should be considered losers. Like, that's false. It's incorrect. It's if that's your standpoint, then I think you're just wrong. I know that they were in negotiations with some top free agents, and it would have made this thing look a lot better. Say if they'd hit on Milton Williams and they'd won that sweepstakes and been able to outbid, the Patriots or the Carolina Panthers, who were also in it, or get a, Will Fries an upgrade, get a Ward Daddy guard there. That would all look well and fine. But I think considering what they were able to accomplish, it's fine. And like, if they were in those, that chunk of change that they have left goes down considerably. Then they're like the secondary market and the next wave of wide receivers didn't match spending that money.
Well, what did everybody say? This is not a great free agent class. We saw a lot of teams re-sign their own. We saw a flurry of trades before free agency. It was never an assumption, even when we were reported like the Cardinals were going to spend money, that they were going to spend all their money. Like, they did enough in terms of moving the needle for this show. You could always do more, right? I wanted them to be as aggressive as the Vikings were. That's not them yet, right? Where Minnesota feels like they've got to put a super team around J.J. McCarthy because his knee, he had a botched knee surgery and he's coming back. Basically, his rookie season is this year. Dalvin Tomlinson, Josh Sweat, and the investment you made there of almost $100 million combined, like, that's good enough for most Cardinal fans at the worst position group on the team. I just feel like, sure, if there's a receiver of note to target that you can go spend money on, like if DK Metcalf was a free agent, he wasn't. He had to be traded and given a new contract extension, right? Like the contracts that we're seeing now with a Stephon Diggs, those are the kind of players that were available for a reason. He's coming off a torn ACL. He was still overpaid. We were banging the drum for Christian Kirk. He went to Houston, right, for a draft pick. Got to keep his same he's going to play out through the whole length of his contract. Just like the draft, sometimes you have to take the hand you're dealt. Play the hand you're dealt, right? Cardinals, by hook or by crook, unless they move up, we're just going to have to pick from the players at 16th overall. We'd all love Mason Graham. Not realistic, right? Abdul Carter. We'd all love for this team to be able to go out and get infinitely better offensively. They have made enough moves, we feel like, with Marv and Paris, the investments up front, and then, of course, Trey McBride's ascension into an elite player. Like, they should be better organically. I don't, the biggest concern we always had about talking about T. Higgins or whatever, dating back to January, this offense right now, in my opinion, hasn't deemed itself worthy of another major impact at receiver until it can show us it can evolve with the players it has.
Well, which direction could they have possibly gone? I mean, as you mentioned, some of the guys didn't even hit the open market. And then you got the guys that did, like Chris Godwin's gobbled up, pretty much right away by the Bucs. Like, there just wasn't any options that you could add to this lineup Cooper Cup, like you're going to go and you're going to outspend the Seahawks in that atrocious contract, 3 years,
Awful.
$45 million. Like it doesn't make sense. And that's where I think people do get kind of lost in the sauce as far as free agency goes. It's just like, just being is extremely active and making as many signings as possible isn't necessarily a good thing. It's often fool's gold. But if you make some savvy moves and you trust your pro scouting and you get guys like that can come in and help and supplement your weaknesses or your needs, that's what you utilize this tool of roster building for. And you go back to where the Cardinals, moneymaker is, and that's the draft and develop.
Who's the receiver out of Tampa Bay? Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
His leg snapped this past year. He got re-signed before free agency.
Right.
The tackle market was terrible. I mean, there was depth at one position, and that's what we were banging the drum for: defensive line. Whether
Right.
it's Sweat or Reddick, several defensive tackles of note were outright released because of their contracts. And the only time we ripped this team was between the hours of Monday afternoon until Wednesday night, when they let a bunch
Right.
of defensive tackles slip through their fingers and they couldn't get a deal done. Then they finally got Dalvin Tomlinson. Since then, they can afford to be particular and specific with their targets. I'm going to tell everybody right now, they're going to have to sign a veteran corner. They need a veteran corner. They're still very much in that market. Save for using the 16th overall pick on a corner, we'll come to find this team's going to need more depth there. They want more depth. They weren't happy with that position group last year. So they're waiting it out. All the defensive corners that we've outlined that were available in free agency of note, they're still sitting around waiting for jobs. Kazir White's waiting for a job. So they have gotten, this is where you just kind of have to ask yourself, if you're this guy for CBS Sports, the Cardinals' schedule was brutal last year. It was one of the toughest in the NFL, and they won 8 games. A lot of people think they overachieved. We tend to believe they underachieved in the second half, but they won 8 games. This year, their schedule is infinitely easier, right? You have less continuity in the division, specifically with Seattle and San Francisco, and the Cardinals on paper will be substantially better on their defensive line and otherwise. Like that, there's no way. The Niners are losers. They're cutting Deebo Samuel, right? They're talking about trading Brandon Ayuk. They had to cut Kyle Juszczyk and Dre Greenlaw left. Like, they're losers. They're easy teams to identify. The Giants are losers. The Browns are losers. Playing Myles Garrett $40 million without a quarterback. Like, the Cardinals are just an easy target for some people.
Right. Well, it's lazy. Not doing your research. It's Marv underwhelmed. This passing attack wasn't what we thought it could be. Why didn't they go out and get a receiver? And it's just like, well, they want to develop the young guy. It was one of the youngest wide receiver rooms probably in the NFL. Get Marv at 22 and Michael Wilson at 25. Get him some more snaps.
Michael Wilson, I know he's a friend of this program, needs more targets before I'm ready to sit here and say, like, he's not the guy. I mean, he had 600 yards last year in an offense that was neutered throwing the football downfield. I mean, you guys see his catch against Seattle? You see some of the catches he made late in the year? I am not going to sit here and pound the table for more weapons until we completely flesh this out, where Marv and Michael get the targets that they warrant for their skill set. And if they can't play this year, then we'll have a conversation next January. But right now, it is not a personnel problem. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride, and this team can't have 25 to 30 passing touchdowns. Figure that out. Please, God. Brian, our only super chat of the day, $5. If we bring in a vet, is Sean Murphy Bunting gone? Or are we going to send Thomas, Melton, and Elijah Jones to ride the bench? I do not believe Sean Murphy Bunting will be a starter this year.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of depth there, no doubt about it. But, as the show's been reporting, they just wanted, a vet in that room. Somebody to match up with all these top 100 picks that they've brought in the last 2 drafts. 3 guys. They're not ready to quit on Elijah Jones just because he was, injured the entire season. And, you saw some struggles in preseason. They like what they saw at Boston College, and he's going to be somebody that I think they're going to probably put in a Max Melton type role that he played his rookie season, where he maybe plays some gunner and then also get some defensive snaps. But they want a veteran presence in there to kind of up the competition level as far as that room goes.
We want to up our game with all of you. We got 930 watching live right now. Everybody make note, draft party tickets are on sale now. Get them while they're hot. They have been going early and often, and they will sell out with our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass. Draft party, Thursday, April 24th, 5 p.m. Your ticket, which you can get now, and 20% off if you're a diehard, includes an all-you-can-eat buffet of just the most elite food money can buy at Gila, plus 3 drinks. You get 3 drink tickets of your choosing at the Upper Deck Kitchen and Bar, where we're going to be hanging out. Again, we maxed out our ticket capacity last year at 125. We're going to do it again this year. So I encourage everybody. I had people text me earlier today, where's the link? What's the diehard promo code? Hit us up privately, hit us up DMs. We will take care of you and make sure that you got all the resources you need to get your tickets, because we don't want anybody left out in the cold. But this is the draft party of the century. Right now, we had a blast last year. It's going to be 10 times better this year at Pick 16. Bo, myself, Damon, the whole crew, plus many surprises, giveaways, and more. Get your tickets now, Bo.
I can't wait. Got another super chat coming in here. How about our guy, Daewoo? I know it's draft season, but let's not overlook Petzing's shortcomings. Maybe he needs a perfect weapon for whatever the hell he wants to do on offense.
Tyler Warren, baby.
Oh, God.
Unlock it.
I think if you can't score with Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr., even with people's skepticism on Kyler Murray, you got big-time problems. When you invest, they're going to pay Trey McBride $20 million a year. Marv went 4th overall. Paris was a top pick. James is a stud. You got too much good going on. I'm giving him all the confidence up until September, October, November, and then we'll reassess. If we're having concerns about Drew Petzing around Halloween, then it's open season on this show. On him, Kyler Murray, and everybody. They got to get it done. The offense has to be better.
Damon, do you envision Johnny giving him that much grace?
All the confidence until one bad drive in the first game of the season, and then all of a sudden is Drew Petzing on the hot seat? Welcome to the PHNX Cardinals halftime show.
That's probably a more accurate future for at least my co-host. But we'll see.
The time for patience is over, and we're going to break down the Cardinals over-under win total tomorrow because it became public today. But I mean, you want, cupcakes and holding hands. There are other podcasts that'll do that.
That's
not
always
this show.
nice. That's always nice. But yeah, that's not us.
No.
We're a little bit more rugged, rough around the edges.
We're truck guys, after all.
Truck guys, blue collar podcasters, that's who we are.
That's right. Hit us with a blue collar light.
Last out. That's us.
That's us. Listen, we root for everybody who's a Cardinal on this show, but we'll call if somebody can't play or they can't coach, we'll call a spade here. I trust Jonathan Gannon, and he's tripling down with Drew Petzing. So, can I talk crap about the Suns so they can please win tonight? I'm going to tell you right now.
No, you can't say that. You just got to talk crap about the Suns.
Kevin Durant and his Twitter rants is one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen from somebody of his caliber, a top 10 player maybe of all time. Kevin Durant, get your you-know-what together. You're a professional athlete making how much money with your legacy, and you're going back and forth with Joe Blow on Twitter. You're an embarrassment. And people going nuts over a 4-game win streak. You're under 500. Oh, I remember Kevin Durant's like, yeah, we're turning it on. You're under 500. You're out of the playoffs in the West. You're a joke. Get it together.
Yeah. Is fool's gold, Johnny? You think this win streak is fool's gold?
But hey, Damon, I know you're not doing that thumbnail. Put it on the thumbnail. But make that thumbnail tonight for PHNX Suns. Just have it say fool's gold on it.
I'll throw that their way.
I do love the dynamic that, Espo, Ruby, and the entire crew over there, they're like, are they back? Are they back?
Back from what?
This is what we've been waiting for. This is the Suns basketball I wanted. But one little slip up, it's back to just in the dark. Just blow it all up. Get everybody out of my sight.
Like you said to me yesterday, Bo, it's like if they're going to stay hot, probably make the playoffs, lose in the first round in 4 or 5 games to whatever team they match up against, and then it's going to be back to the dark days just immediately.
This lovable bunch of guys, just guys playing with their heart, winning, just by the power of friendship. And the next thing you know, first round exit or playing exit, and it's just like, burn it to the ground.
Jason Tatum supposedly is not playing tonight. If Kevin Durant loses at home with Devin Booker against a Jason Tatum-less Celtics team, shut him down for the rest of the year. Don't even bother playing him for the rest of the year. Shut him down, play G Leaguers, tank, get the best pick. If you can't beat the Celtics at home on a 4-game win streak without Jason Tatum, I don't want to see you back in a Suns uniform. How about that? Is that good enough trash talk?
I think you hit your quota today and then some. That was high level play.
That was Suns talk with PHNX Cardinals.
My thank you card. I'll send my Venmo out to the PHNX Suns crew for the content and the wins and the vibes. I do not have a lift kit on my pretend Prius. That is not true. What is true is we need all the likes, all the love, all the subscribers here on PHNX Sports. Big thanks to our guy, Fran Duffy. Again, we appreciate all of you. We're having so much fun during draft season. We want to have those vibes continue through April 24th with all of our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass Bowl, Brack. And tomorrow we break down the Cardinals over under total and what that number really means. But in the meantime, Damon, Dawg, Bo Brack, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you on a Thursday. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.